Hi everyone, I've had a few requests about doing a BMW 6-speed conversion on a 3UZ. This applies to any chassis I suppose, but obviously this is a IS200. So I'm just going to do a quick little video what I did to fit the BMW 6-speed box. It's a GS6-53DZ and the code a HGU. This is quite key. So one thing I learned about doing this conversion, there's a few different types of boxes. So you've got like your old 530D 5-speed, which seems to be the one that a lot of people use, but because it's off older cars, it's getting harder to find. I think they're off like E39s and stuff like that. They're good, strong boxes, but from what I understand, the 6-speed is the same, it's just got an extra gear. So anyway, you've got to be careful with the code. So I found like you can get JGL and JDD. These are off like 1 Series BMWs, I think. But they have a different engine, so it's like an N57 or whatever. This gearbox is off an M57. Don't know what it's out of, maybe like an E60 something. I'm not very good with gearbox like BMW models, etc. So you just kind of have to do your research. But either way, I'm using an HGU. This uses like a newer style PMC kit. But if you speak to, there's a guy called Pavel at PO Performance. They sponsor the British Drift Championship. So look up PO Performance. I'll put it in here and I'll put it in the description as well. Speak to him and he will literally just say, I've got this gearbox, what do I need? And that's what I did, and he sorted me out. And it literally came, I think it's from, I'm not sure where PMC are based, like Eastern Europe, like Poland or somewhere like that. But he got it to me within like 5-6 days. I told him that I was in BDC, so he kind of like hooked me up a little bit, but because they have a little bit of a discount, I think, for drivers. But yeah, so speak to him, he will point you in the right direction. Just tell him what gearbox you've got, what code, and you know, but their website's pretty useful anyway. So to the actual fitting of the box, here's a picture of the PMC adapter kit. Obviously I didn't record any of this because I was trying to get it done for the next round of BDC. So here's a picture of the adapter plate and everything mounted up. It's a real nice bit of kit, really nice, well made, everything fits, no complaints at all. So here is the gearbox in the chassis. So one thing I was worried about was clearance, because the 6-speed box is a lot bigger really generally than the J160 IS200 gearbox, but it actually gave me more room in the places I need it. So for example here, my Lambdas with the J160 were really close, but I've got more room now actually. I've actually got more clearance down the side here. So obviously mine are custom manifolds, so it might not apply the same to other people's cars, but you know, generally I've got a fair bit of clearance. I mean, it's quite close here, so I did a little touch here just in case for movement. And also, where are we? Up here. So this is my clutch slave. It's an E36. I just tried it and it worked. So, but I just notched the chassis in slightly here. But that's only because I had a straight fitting clutch line. If I'd have had like a 45 degree, it would have been all right. But I just notched it purely because I didn't want it rubbing on anything. So yeah. Other than that, literally it fits straight in. So mount wise, this is what I made. So you can buy these are pretty generic. I think these are like E36, E46, they're just polyurethane mounts. I think BMW have the same mounts on all their boxes, so it's pretty like across the board. This is a mount I made. It's just like 4mm plate, some reinforcement piece in the middle. Super easy, super simple. And one thing you'll notice is these pretty much line up with your factory IS200 points, which makes it pretty easy to mock up a little bracket like I've made. I mean, that wasn't too difficult to make. It took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's probably a bit over the top strength wise, but you know, you can't go wrong with that. You could have just used a piece of box or anything, but you know, nice and simple. So that worked out pretty well. And like I say, space wise, it's actually quite good. Yeah. And also filling the box is actually easier because, as people will know from the IS200 J160 box, the fill plug is literally in the worst location ever. On here, right there, piece of cake, drain, fill. Easy. So I would actually say if anyone's thinking about doing this, do it rather than the J160. Just don't waste your time with the J160 anymore. The prices of them have gone pretty high for the box they are, really. I mean, you know, I did 3 years at 320 odd wheel horsepower and 350 flywheel, whatever, and it was fine, but I really took it easy. Like, I had a lot of mechanical sympathy with this car. I never wanted to break it. I didn't do standing burnouts. If I was going to do a burnout, like a BDC in a burnout box, I'd do a figure of 8. So I'd move forwards, handbrake, and then just do a figure of 8. I'd never just put it in second and launch it off the clutch. So I always had a lot of sympathy for it. But when I went up to put the cams in and went up to like 372 wheel horsepower, I actually just started exploding gearboxes on power. So not clutch kicking or anything. I was literally like mid corner on power, and the gear had just let go. And I did 1 second gear and 2 third gears in 3 rounds. Well, 2 rounds actually. So, like I say, I would, if anyone's going to do this, just go straight for a BMW 6-speed. It's about the same price now as the J160. I paid £300 for this gearbox, and I think it had 90,000 miles on it. So, you know, that's quite low mileage for a diesel BMW. So, yeah, I would recommend just going for it straight away, because then you're future-proofing it. It's a very agricultural box. I don't really like the gear shifting on it. It's a bit, feels like an old Defender or something. It's a bit like, yeah, but it handles the power. So, you know, say if I ever forged this, turboed it, this box will handle it. I just need to change the clutch. So, speaking of clutch, so I have I'm not sure what clutch it is, but basically it's a Sachs OEM BMW clutch. It'll be for like a 330D, 530D. It's just a stock clutch because they're rated to like 400 Newton meters or whatever, and this is only 340 Newton meters, I think. So I knew that a stock clutch would be fine. It's cheap. It's like 120 quid. You like, say if I blew the clutch up at a BDC round, chances are I could go to like Euro Car Parts or GSF and just go buy another clutch off the shelf, like 120 quid. So that's why I went for a stock clutch. What I would say, stock clutch, the pressure plate is too light, so it works and it works fine, but it could do with a heavier pressure plate. I'm not sure if that's just because I'm used to, I had a competition clutch stage 4, so it was obviously a heavier pressure plate. But with this, I would recommend, you can run a stock clutch, but it's a very light pedal. It's not too light, it's okay. I wanted a heavier pedal because, like, sometimes when I clutch kick, I feel like the pedal doesn't come back quick enough. It's like the fingers in the pressure plate don't really retract the pedal quick enough. It's just something to bear in mind. So you can use a stock clutch. I would say use like a stage 2, 3, something like that, competition clutch. That's what I'm going to put in this at some point. So next thing was prop shaft. So I basically, local to me, I found someone who was breaking a BMW, and I think it was an E61 Touring manual. I bought the prop for like 20 quid, I think he wanted for it. I bought the full length and it just fitted. So, and another thing as well, I believe the donuts are all the same. So my friend donated me this donut because my old one looked a bit rubbish. This was a brand new donut. That was off an E36 manual. Don't know if it petrol diesel matters, but that's an E36 donut. Bolted straight up to my E61, whatever it is, prop. As you can see, it's huge. I've got loads of clearance. So what I did, this is my standard IS200 prop shaft at the rear. Literally all I did was cut it up here. So I cut the BMW one, I cut the Lexus one, got the, I kept the donut mount, the standard Lexus donut mount here. I literally just cut it and tack welded it in place, so I got the length correct. I then took it to a company, I don't know where they are, Kettering I think maybe. It was 80 quid to get that prop made, so they basically just made me a new front section, balanced, painted, ready to go. That's literally all I did for the prop. It's done, what I did, 2 rounds of BDC last year and probably 4 or 5 drift days. Matt Sorry, it's been fine. So yeah, it looks like the standard rear section of the IS200 prop handles a lot of power, so it's not to worry about. But like I say, the best thing I would suggest would be cut your front BMW in half, basically. cut the front section of the ice cylinder in half at the correct length, just tack weld them together, send it to a prop shop and they'll just do the rest. And then obviously diff wise, it just bolts up straight up to diff here. You can see my number is a Y54. That's because it's a Lexus IS250 manual ratio. So that is a 3.7 final drive. It fits straight up, it's bigger, it's the same size as the JZX 100, IS300 diff. They're all just, the only downside with them though is they're open, so if you're looking for a street car then an IS250 will fit into the IS300 subframe, no problem, but they're open diff. So yeah, drive shaft. These are IS250, IS220 diesel. So I've measured them, they are actually the same size, if not bigger, in key points than the IS300 / JZX 100 shafts. I mean, these are like chunky boys, and they don't have the bolted cups, which I guess is a weak point, I suppose. So yeah, I said I was going to keep it short. That's like 12 minutes long, sorry. But there you go. Shifter wise, I've used so again, all shifters are the same, so you can use like Cooler Works, or whatever they're called, PMC or anything like that. I run a Tagiwa E46 M3 shifter just because it had like a square base plate and it was nice and easy to mount. I'm not going to show you, it's easy. And they have, here we go, that's your selector rod. This selector rod came on the gearbox and it just lined up completely perfectly. But if it doesn't, I mean, that's just a steel rod. You can easily cut and shut that if needs be to make it the correct length. But yeah, that just literally, I mean, this is a E60, I think, gearbox with an E46 shifter and it just fits perfect. It just works. So there we go, that's that video done. Sorry I couldn't show you more. Like I said, I'd already done the job. This is me just trying to explain. I'll put some links in descriptions from websites I bought the parts from. Yeah, so hopefully that helps some people. Like I said, I've had a few people ask me about the setup. Hopefully it helps. If not, just drop a comment on YouTube on this and I will try and reply to you as best as I can. So I'm not too clued up on it, I just did this and it worked. So there you go. So yeah, drop a comment if you want to know any more, but thanks, see you later.